Buddy, today is Monday, December 18th, 2017. This is MMA Junkie Radio's pre-show, the show before the show. I am Goz. To my left is the host of the show, Gorgeous George Garcia. To his left is Dan Tom, MMA Junkie Radio's fight analyst. Back in New York, the world's greatest producer, Danny Otto. How's everybody doing?
Good, man. How about you?
Not too bad.
Good. I can't wait for Live and Good to fight just so I can use that gif of the Emperor doing good.
I like that guy. The Emperor is a solid character.
Yeah, he is.
It's a Star Wars reference. I still haven't seen the movie. I know Danny has seen it. And Dan, I don't think you've seen it, right?
The new one? No.
Yeah. But we'll get to it.
I will get to this one.
Did Kobe really spoil it, by the way?
I don't know. Don't say anything. I don't know. Let's not talk about this at all. All right.
Well, George.
Did you see Kobe's tweet, Danny or Dan?
I did. I looked it up.
Did you see the movie?
I did.
So did he spoil it? Just so that we know.
If he gives you that answer, you're going to spoil it for me.
No, because you don't know what Kobe said.
I know what he tweeted.
Oh, he did?
I don't know if he's
exactly
joking or not.
All right, so leave the room because I want to know.
Fuck, all right. I'll be back.
All right.
But now everybody in Junkie Nation's going to know because they tune in before.
All right, so Danny, so you know what Kobe tweeted, right?
I do.
And is that what happens, and is that considered a spoiler?
It is considered a spoiler.
Do you think he saw the movie or someone just told him?
I don't know. I really don't. I mean, it's a good guess. Like, I mean, you could guess that happens.
Right.
And, I mean, you got a 50-50 chance, basically.
All right. The nerds and virgins are back.
Hopefully the pre-show listeners didn't earmuffed appropriately.
I forgot about the...
I'm the one who said that.
Oh.
Coming back in a minute.
Wow, I forgot about the people that are listening.
Well, I figured they knew, right, by the time I was leaving.
Yeah, so virgins, nerds, come back. We're done talking about it. Anyway, did you see Chael Sonnen try to do something like that as well? And I'm thinking, why would you do it on the heels of Kobe doing it?
Back at 30.
You guys are instigating. Something's going to happen on today's show.
No, Chael Sonnen really did something.
People are dumb, and I know somebody's going to call in and go, oh, I was listening to the pre-show there.
Oh, here we go. This is the
That's all on you guys. That's happening.
Everyone call
Guys, go watch the movie if it means that much to you. Go watch the movie.
But it means nothing to you. That's why
I was curious to see if it did something.
It literally means nothing to
Today's show, we want stun guns.
But I'm curious to see if it's really a spoiler or if it's not a spoiler.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Coming
When did the movie come out?
Last week.
Oh.
It's been out for a week. Stand by.
Thursday, right, or Friday?
You should get to it. We should watch it this week, though.
Supposed to watch it with Tommy on
Airport. On behalf of our crew, we'd like to thank you for flying MMA Junkie Airlines. Now please fasten your seatbelts and put your tray tables in your upright position because the descent is going to be a little bit bumpy.
Alright, Junkie Nation, it's time to roll, baby, on MMA Junkie Radio with Gorgeous George and Gold. This is what we doing while we do it, baby. All night long, we rollin'! Yeah!
The MMA Junkie Radio revolution is upon us.
Can you dig it?
There's no escape. No escape. Through the vast frontier of cyberspace and through a sea of stars in outer space.
One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
We've solidified our combat communications stranglehold.
We are controlling transmission.
With the use of MMA Junkie Radio and SiriusXM satellite radio technology. MMA Junkie Radio. Commence transmission. Live from MMA Junkie Radio HQ in the fight capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. Here are your hosts, Gorgeous George and Go.
From the fight capital of the world inside the beautiful Mandalay Bay Race and Sportsbook, you are listening to the MMA Junkie Radio Show, the only show that matters. It's Tuesday, December 18th, closing in on one of my favorite holidays of the year. We have a couple days off at the end of the week. So this is it, man. Monday and Tuesday. Your chance to call in, chat with us, 866-522-2846. Today's a great day to do it, too. We can react to UFC on Fox 26, which took place on Saturday night. Robbie Lawler and Rafael dos Anjos had a great fight. Rafael dos Anjos was the winner. Also, Bellator, they had their fight card as well, Bellator 191. And LFA had a fight that produced what I would call an upset. So, lots to talk about there. Much news to cover. And again, there's only 2 days that we'll be here. So, I want to start off by just giving you all that reminder. Also, some unfortunate news to pass on. And I think we're all in agreement. Today's a nice day to dedicate to Robert Follis. Robert Follis is a former Team Quest and Extreme Couture MMA coach. And he is no longer with us. He passed away on Saturday night. Details are still not confirmed. And I wouldn't really want to speak on them, honestly. I think the important thing is here that somebody that was very good to Goz and I, in our covering of the sport, he's just no longer with us, and it's really, really sad, honestly. We came across this news over the weekend, and we just couldn't believe it. Really, really tragic. Now, from Dan's side, he actually had a coach athlete role when Dan was training a little bit more. He was a little more active over at Extreme Couture. Also, probably was one of the people that put it in your head that, hey, even though you're not going to physically be able to continue on with the sport, you can be a contributor, by breaking down fights. You seem to be a student of the game the same way he was. And, Follis had recently departed from, split ties with the Extreme Couture gym. So we hadn't really seen him as much, probably just in the last month. But wow, what was it? Just a couple months that he actually was here to co-host with us. Yeah. We also had him on the show to talk about, Kevin Lee's run to the title. I know I'm all over the place here, but again, our deepest thoughts and condolences to his family, to his girlfriend, to his friends, to all the people that he touched. It's unfortunate that he's no longer with us. He's still what I would consider somebody, young in their 40s. And it's, I guess I said earlier, I'm not going to touch on the details. So what I'm about to say now may actually, string together the facts. This is something that he was in good health, and it is being reported that he may have taken his life. And so what I'm getting at is this could have been prevented, maybe, if maybe those closest to him or others could have reached out to him when he may have been reaching out, or perhaps it could have come from his end and he could have reached out. I'm sure he was going through some trying times, but we all are. And if you are battling any of this, mental illness or anything like that, or depression, or who knows what, just know that our doors are always open. I mean, you spend 2 hours a day with us. You've definitely gotten to know us. And over the years, believe me when I tell you, we've gotten to know you. So it would not be in any way uncomfortable for us to take your call or reach out to us via social media. That offer's just always there. And unfortunately, we're too late for Robert Follis. May God rest his soul. Guys, if you want to say something, go ahead. And I'd like to dedicate the show to Robert Follis.
I just know every time that I went to Extreme Couture, he was one of the first faces you would see that would walk over. And there's different levels of people saying hello. There's people that wave, there's people that head nod. But Robert would always come over and shake your hand and ask you how you're doing. And he would chit-chat for a while. And whether that was about MMA or about life in general, you knew he was going to, you'd have a fun conversation with him. And he would always take the time to do that, no matter what, whether it was before practice, after practice, or even during practice sometimes. And he was an open book. You could ask him anything, and he would explain it to you, whether you were somebody that he trained or just a fan that just wanted to know the answer to something. So yeah, he'll definitely be missed, and I love the time that we got to spend together at the gym and the times that he's come here on the show. So we will definitely miss you, Robert.
Yeah, obviously, I had a relationship with Robert for years, so this kind of really hits close to home, not just having him on the show, not just being in Vegas, not just being a member of Extreme Couture. But there's a picture we have posted on the back. I tweeted out earlier. By the way, thank you for all the kind wishes. I kind of wanted to take a break from social media yesterday because I literally woke up to this news from mutual friends of Roberts and stuff, just calling, concern, text, and so not the best way to wake up, and kind of fired a tweet out there with this picture attached. And first, just want to say thank you, just to see how many other people sentimented. I'm just one of many stories that Robert Follis, touched many people, and I'm just one of many. But it was really comforting and nice to see, the tweets and stuff, people having the same effect, and then also just, thank you all those who reached out. But really, it's just condolences to everybody who knew him, because if you knew the man, you knew his warmth. And the picture that I'll keep referring to was taken actually when he wasn't even at Extreme Couture full time, because before that, through the connection to Dennis Davis, the head coach at Extreme Couture, and Randy Couture, all Pacific Northwest guys from that Team Quest era, knew Follis. And so when Follis was in town, we would have the privilege of learning from him. And it's a really great picture behind us, because you see the coach kind of kneeling, and you see all these surrounding guys. Some are pro fighters. You might have seen in Bellator shows, other shows that went on, and just kind of the attention that he really encapsulates from these people. And if you were a coach, not that most coaches are in it for the glamour, but you kind of want a picture like this, because it really kind of speaks to that. And Robert's teachings always spoke to me, because he wasn't just a good coach. He wasn't just because he's from Team Quest, guys. It was all this, that's another travesty of this all, because all this knowledge and stories. And you guys have known, you guys have interviewed and befriended people who have been in the sport. There's so many stories and so much things they can offer that it's really sad when they go young. But yeah, Follis was, sorry if I'm running on a bit, but he was a really important part, for my journey. Like George was saying, when I was having bad injuries, I still remember, not just with the concussions. I mean, there was a time where, don't ask me, it was just freak. I actually fractured both my thumbs on the mat, so I had these like weird little thumb casts on.
At the same time?
Yeah. So it was really awkward, right? And amongst other things, so I'm like sitting there trying to like do squats and what I can, since I can't, punch things. And I'm in because Extreme Couture has a whole section just for strength and conditioning. And Follis walks by and was just encouraging me, like, hey man, why haven't I seen you in class? And he never gave you crap about it. It was always a positive thing. And I was like, well, it just sucks. I'm fighting these injuries, but you know what I have been doing? I've been doing this thing now where I'm finally taking advice from that coaches have long given me, including him. I'm finally taking notes and studying fights on the sidelines. I'm measuring guys' wrist management. I'm doing it, and going back and forth with them. And he would be nothing but positive. Yeah, keep writing that. Keep doing this. Yo, yeah, keep on, and just kept encouraging me to study fights from the sidelines, knowing that it would help me in some way. And sure enough, it did. And he was one of those people, along with Eric Nixick, general manager, and prior coaches like Neil Melanson, who I really owe where I am, and a lot of that positive encouragement to him, because when Neil left the gym is around the time where Robert came in, and I was one of Neil's guys. So if anything, there's kind of a weird transitionary phase where who's the new coach? We don't really like the new coach. So for that reason, he could have given that energy right back. But Follis always went out of the way to be extra nice to me. It felt like, I don't know if that's because I was one of Neil's guys or coming over, but I never felt that. In fact, a lot of the reason why I was able to roll with people like Misha or Brian or a lot of these pros is because Follis would say, no, Dan's a good guy. He's a good technical partner. You're going to get a good roll in, because not only am I not physically imposing to I look like where I'm going to offer a good roll, but rolling with new people in the gym is how you get injured. And even not knowing me as well, Follis was vouching for me and saying, no, Dan's a good partner. He's a good guy to get work in. He'll give you some looks. And I got a lot of this high-level experience through him and him, kind of giving me that nod of approval and all these little things. Sorry to run on, but yeah, essentially he played a big role in that gym. My story is just one of many. I don't want you to feel like you're running on,
but yeah, say what you want to say honestly.
Yeah, no, 100%.
This show, we're going to cover what we're going to cover. We're going to take calls. And we'll look forward to UFC 219 and everything. But the fact remains, if you looked yesterday, he touched a lot of people.
Yeah, 100%.
And sometimes the social media post isn't enough. And I didn't know that I could say what I wanted to say in 280 characters on the Twitter.
Yeah.
Social, like Instagram, it just kind of like it's there and then it gets lost, and I figured, we have this format on the show, we can talk about it, and that's definitely what I wanted to do, and I figured this was definitely the way to lead off the show. We'll definitely talk about all the stuff that happened this weekend, but no, I mean, continue, man. Whatever is on your mind, say it. Same goes for Goes. I don't want any of you to think that we're pressed for time.
Well, I appreciate that, and essentially that anecdotal that I just shared was just kind of one of many stories that I'm sure that he affected the trajectory of someone's life, and tying it back into something that George said, which I think is really important here, because for what it's worth, I mean, I'll kind of not go ahead and say it, but what George was alluding to, and you should not feel as bad alluding to that, George, because I just read an official coroner's report that officially ruled it to what you were implying, but
a suicide.
Yeah, in that regard, as far as reaching out for help and stuff, I'm glad you said that, George, because it is very true.
And for those that were wondering a little bit, USA Today, in the way something like this is covered, is very professional, and I know a lot of people were wondering why we didn't post, and there needed to be a confirmation, and a few other steps that I won't get into, but for one, we joked about, we were doing some original programming that you'll review later. We talked about Kimi Leopoldo and what had happened a few years ago on a death hoax. Definitely didn't want to go down that road.
Right.
And then if you recall the incident here in October here in Las Vegas, where there were multiple reports of other stuff happening, definitely didn't want to go that route.
Yes.
But we've addressed it on MMA Junkie, and again, when the details aren't confirmed, it's tougher, and frankly, I just think people need time to process it, and I was caught in an awkward situation yesterday where the people that I know that are real close, I didn't want to turn into a media member at the time. I just wanted to be more of a friend, and that might cost me points a little bit with the editorial team, but the fact remains, we're in Vegas, and this big circle of MMA people that care for each other and work together and sometimes butt heads or whatever. It's in existence, and
you'll lose your humanity if you do something like that.
Yeah,
I was in the same boat.
It just has, to me, I've always felt like it has to feel right. Now, maybe if I had gone to a journalism school or something, I would have been taught, feelings aside, this is what you do,
Yeah.
And that's something I learned along the way. But eventually, it was being confirmed yesterday, and it's there now, and so that's why I'm saying, speak what you'd like, honestly, and yes, it was a suicide, and I know in the past when I've tackled this topic, I think I went off of something that from where I was built, or how when I was raised, like I was not in any way happy with Junior Seau with what he did, especially because he had kids. But now learning a little bit more about TBI and CTE and people, telling me a little bit about you don't know what it's like to be depressed, I can see why people get these thoughts. I'll still stand by what I said that day, though. I still believe us as human beings can find a way to get help, whether it's to your immediate people, to professionals, and not choose this type of ending. But I don't want to be insensitive to our friend.
Yeah.
And I don't know what was going through his mind and at the moment that it happened, and he's just a guy that you won't forget. He's very, very impactful in our sport, and personally to us, he always welcomed us, always went out of his way to say hello, taught us a lot when it came to strategy. Just sidebar, because we always talked about what just happened, this past weekend. What just happened? Like,
right.
what did he do? And that's why Mondays and Tuesdays were so much fun to not only talk about it, but to learn from it.
100%. All I'll say about the topic of suicide, as far as that goes in general, and just an observation that I do find relevant, because again, granted, I'm more sensitive than the average bear to issues of mental health. Because I feel that it's a very big underlying issues for other issues that we think that are going on in this country. I think are kind of disguised as mental health issues. Another argument for another time. But that being said, it is interesting to note when you really educate yourself on these things. Like, it's easy to be like, yeah, it's dumb. Why would you do that? It is dumb. Suicide is dumb. But why is it that a lot of our smartest, brightest, most compassionate people are oftentimes the victims of it? Right? Why is it, if it is so dumb, why is it the smartest people that are the ones, often doing that? And that is a factual correlation. That's not just my opinion. You can go search that and find that in books. And there's a lot of speculation as to why that is. Just from the obvious one, you almost intelligence almost a blessing at a certain, or its blessing can be a curse if you take it over a certain level, right? The over analytical mind. Oh, it's great, you can analyze things, but if you're over analytical, you're probably dealing with things like anxiety, because again, whatever part of your brain that's turned to analyze things and make you good at this, it's a two-way street, like everything in life, right? There's no biological free lunch. For what's positive, there is a negative, and we all have different compounds and compositions of this within us. So I will say that's just an interesting observation about that topic. But bringing it back to this, and in relation to that, I do think what George said is important to always be able to reach out and have that open line of communication, is because, not just you never know, or what if you're in that situation, and those obvious reasons. Sure, it's always good to have open lines of communication, but I don't know how much I want to get into this or the conversations that were had, but you don't want to ever find yourself in a position where you're questioning if you could have. And now that's kind of a natural thing when something like this happens. A lot of people, especially close to the person, you want to feel like, what could I have done? What could have this? And I don't know how comfortable I am getting involved into it, but I did have conversations. Was in correspondence with Follis as recently as this week, since the parting. What I can say was it was a good natured conversations. He had a new project that he was working on, which he told other people about, as far as trying to start a new gym. And even when things maybe weren't going great for him, and I could tell that there was more to the words, he was still asking how I was doing, offering if he could help me with any of, just not thinking about him, still trying to think and help people, even if what was clearly not going through a good time. Even without this happening, I could, when you're making better or worse, right or wrong, when you make a career move, you jump from one place to another, it's an unstable time. You can feel unstable. We've all been between jobs, and I guess that's what I'm referring to. Forget whatever else he was clearly struggling with. That alone can be hard to deal with, and the fact that he was still prioritizing other people ahead of himself. It's tough. It's a really tough pill to swallow for me, obviously. I'm sure that's coming through right now. And circling it back to what George said, this is the reason why. Not just because, of course, we all want to prevent these things if we can, whether someone's our friend or not. We don't want anybody doing this to them, but you also don't want to ever find yourself in a position where, well, my friend just needed someone to talk to, or this or that. That's the worst fucking feeling. So please, just reach out. Just send them in again. Feel free to reach out. These guys have, like I said, they're not BSing. They've helped more people than they'll give themselves credit for behind closed doors. And even if it's just calling into the show while we're on air to get something off your chest on a Stun Gun Monday, you wouldn't believe how much that helps. So I mean, even just think about this. We'll probably cut you off, or Gigi will go, right then if you get a little out of hand. But in a sense, think of the show as your therapy. Call in, talk some MMA, get some stuff off your chest on Stun Gun Mondays, Off Topic Tuesdays, and that's what we're here for.
Yeah. Don't ever be embarrassed to do any of that, because I can tell you right now, you wouldn't be the first. We get a lot of these type of calls, and a lot of people feel the same way you feel. And I know there's social media, there's Twitter, there's Facebook, and you're going to get a lot of different opinions, and that's what makes this country great, that you can voice those opinions. But I think if you are, just keep in mind that you're not the only person there's not just one person that sees what you say, and what you say will always be out there. So just be mindful of the situation and what people are going to be reading out there. And just remember that not every case is exactly the same. You can't really direct everything towards the example of the way you live your life and the way you were brought up. Everybody was brought up differently. Everybody lives their life differently. And even people that have been in the same situations, they seem the same, but they really aren't. You don't really know until you've walked in that person's shoes. So whatever you say, just be mindful of everyone else when you do it.
All right, guys. Why don't we take a break, and then we'll come back with some holiday cheerful music or whatever Danny's got in the chamber, and then we'll start our recap of UFC on Fox 26, which took place this past weekend in Winnipeg, Canada, with the headline bout of Robbie Lawler versus Rafael dos Anjos. We'll recap the event, and also our guest today will be UFC light heavyweight champion and also UFC broadcaster Daniel Cormier. Now, we did have an earlier start time for that interview, but we've moved it back. He'll be on with us at 2:30 p.m. Eastern, 11:30 a.m. Pacific. Stay close, folks. We'll be right back. It's MMA Junkie Radio on SiriusXM, Rush 93.
pat down TSA agents because they don't know where those people have been, and because they can. They are Gorgeous George and Goes, and this is MMA Junkie Radio.
That song right there sounds like the song that would play as the last person in the Nightmare on Elm Street movie is ready to fight Freddy at the end.
This?
Yeah, the beginning. I can prove it too, because I'll find another dumb one.
Oh wow, that is a specific pull there.
I'm gonna do that today. Actually, I'm just trying to buy time because I think George is looking for.
You want to hear something funny? Nightmare on Elm Street?
Yeah.
To buy some time?
Yeah.
One of my acting showcases under Gerald Gordon. He was a Hollywood guy. He brought up guys like taught guys like Adrian Brody, whatnot. So at the end of your acting class, you have a showcase, and he invites some quote unquote Hollywood people or whatever. And one of the ladies was the casting director who gave Johnny Depp for his first role, which was in the original Nightmare on Elm Street. And the reason why I bring up her than all the other people is because she was the one that said Old Dan Tom was her favorite part of the acting showcase.
Do you know why Johnny Depp got that role?
Because he had a baby face, and she has things for guys with baby faces?
Wes Craven's daughter thought he was cute.
Ah, son of a bee. Well, she had a good taste, then. He ended up not being that bad of an actor. I mean, I don't know about the other things that I'm reading about him, but, you know.
You know who almost had his job?
Yeah, who pipped
Charlie
him?
Sheen.
We almost pipped him, huh?
Yeah.
What are the things you're
Yes,
almost
for
hearing
too
about Johnny Depp? Is he turning weird too?
Oh, I didn't.
Sexual deviant?
Yeah, something like a domestic abuse or something. He's been fighting off. Was that?
Well, he had a real bitter divorce.
Right.
But I don't. Yeah, I mean, I guess.
Did he put his hands on a woman?
I mean, I don't know that specifically, but yeah, like he was abusive, like yelling, and I mean, you probably see that in every divorce, right? Everybody goes, "That guy was fantastic. That's why I'm getting rid of him."
Maybe he was doing a Christian Bale, like where he's in character.
Maybe.
Where's the trigger? And he's Christian. You're at home. Relax.
You're right. Now that I think about it, like especially the high-profile one, it's either he hit her, he cheated on her. I guess those are the two, the 1, 2.
Yeah.
They're the most popular. All right. So UFC on Fox 26 took place on Saturday, and Rafael dos Anjos defeated Robbie Lawler via unanimous decision, 50-45, 50-45, 50-45. I don't think anybody saw that coming. Now, a lot of people picked Dos Anjos. It's not that I'm not. It's not. That's not what I'm saying. Dan Tom picked Dos Anjos. What I'm saying is, well, Dan, did you have a decision or did you have a finish?
I had it by decision.
But Dos Anjos by decision.
I felt
Well,
crazy
there you go.
about.
Did you feel like 50-45 though? Is another thing I'm getting at.
I felt I scored it that way. I know some people on the
No.
podcast
Did you
Oh.
think that Dos Anjos could win 5 rounds and like just dominate from start to finish?
No,
I think no one saw that. I think even if somebody said Dos Anjos by decision, we would have thought at some point he's going to be wobbly.
Yeah.
His legs are going to be weak. Lawler's going to have his moments, and then he'll fight back from that adversity and come back and win. Maybe more of the fight on the ground, or who knows what. I don't know that 50-45. Boy, if somebody shows me some sort of a tweet or a post, hey man, Dos Anjos is going to win every round, I mean, I will honestly tip my hat. I was really, really impressed by Dos Anjos.
Yeah, me too. And even though I did call it by decision, I didn't expect it to be that dominant, like you said. Which again, I don't want to take anything away, and I'm sure we'll get to this. I don't want to take anything away from RDA's performance with the in-fight injury that happened, because again, it was caused by it was a very dominant performance, and it was caused by leg kicks, and it wasn't like a Tyron Woodley, Carlos Condit, where it's one freak leg kick and then a freak ending. I mean, we got to see Rafael dos Anjos, the fight take place in multiple facets before it was apparent. The back half of the 25-minute fight, before that was apparent that he had an injury.
You're talking about his right leg?
Yeah, we're talking about his right
lower leg where he got kicked by Dos Anjos, right?
Well, I believe it
but
was
his left leg also buckled at the beginning of the 5th round, and I want to know what the extent of that injury was, and I'm not so sure it would have mattered, honestly, either, even if he was healthy. It just looked like it was Dos Anjos' night. Right. So I definitely don't want to make it sound like I'm coming to the rescue and being Lawler's white knight. Right. And to Lawler's credit, he's not using it as an excuse either. But yeah, there's 2 legs there that had their problems.
It was, I believe it was, he did buckle it, but I think on the replay they went back and because sometimes they'll zero in on when it happened. They're good about doing that in the truck. And I believe the reason why I say the back half of the fight, because about midway, it's on a takedown where he lands funny and buckles funny on his left when he's getting taken down midway through. And I guess that's from where it happens. But before then, you can't, not that we are anything, but I'm just saying you can't take away Dos Anjos early, because again, I had him him by decision, but that was because I expected it to be dicey early, right, guys? And when Robbie takes rounds off, Dos Anjos' pressure stays fluent. So my thinking, the reason why I picked Dos Anjos by decision is if he can take that power, then stylistically this is going to favor him more from the southpaw versus southpaw, the leg kicks opening up, to the pressure, which, again, we saw, but I'd be lying to you if I said it was going to be a 50-45. I didn't expect that.
And how about the fact that Lawler couldn't really hurt him, but Alvarez did? It's, we know Lawler probably hits harder than Alvarez, but I think a lot of it had to do with when he fought Alvarez, we had just started, if I'm not mistaken, not being able to rehydrate. Using the IVs, and all the weight that you cut. I mean, again, are you as hydrated as you should be? Or maybe Alvarez just kind of touched that button, and then once he got him wobbly, he finished him. But I really thought that at some point that's what Lawler could do. And after Dos Anjos had that sequence, I think 23 seconds of straight punches, and Lawler's kind of smiling at him. I go, ooh, that's it. He blew his load. Lawler just took his best punch. He's winning the mental and psychological warfare. Here it comes.
Yep.
Now, again, this is a guy who actually parlayed Lawler. So, of course, the fan in me is thinking, yep, bring it home, baby.
Right.
And it didn't happen, man. I can never be mad at Lawler. I was only mad at him one time. We made peace, and that was with the late punch on Trigg. But Lawler's, he's put in his time in this sport, you know what I mean? And it just wasn't his night. He handled it like a professional. I wish he was a little more outspoken, but if he was, he wouldn't be Robbie Lawler.
Yeah,
that's just Robbie Lawler, man. What are you gonna do?
I think
I don't feel too let down because I made some good money on him when he first dropped back to 170.
Oh yeah.
And he was on his way to getting the title shots. He was a big dog in a lot of fights. I remember the cost check being won, so I made some bank off him, and I don't mind losing a little bank on him as well.
I think what stood out for me was as you're watching the fight, I mean, there was really no confusion on the score, right?
No.
We all pretty much knew the way it was going. We thought he was down 4 rounds going in, but RDA never took his foot off the gas, and he could have. He could have coasted to the end of that fight because Robbie Lawler is the guy that even with one punch on two bad legs at the end could still put you out.
Yeah.
But like you said, I mean, it really couldn't have gone any better for RDA. I mean, that was an awesome performance.
Yeah. Well, the only way that would have been better is just like the finish,
Yeah.
But so now we're stuck with, did he get the title shot versus Tyron Woodley? And Dana White had said the winner gets it. But when they sat together, Tyron said, hey, I respect you, and we're probably going to fight. But just as they're kind of signing off, he goes, or something else may go down. Did you hear him? Did you really say that?
Yeah.
And I thought he wouldn't be saying that unless there's obviously different avenues out there to pursue. Maybe a tough stint with Colby, and then them, the coaches pretty much have to fight at the end.
Yeah.
They don't always have to fight, but they pretty much do. So either that or GSP's dropping. But I'm thinking, what else could there be? You know what I mean? Who else is making all kinds of noise? Did and I'm gonna really think outside the box here, but did the UFC go, hey, this fucking Darren Till guy's blowing up over there in Europe and the UK? Let's just have him jump the queue, and it's him and Woodley. I mean, that's crazy. Ponzinibbio couldn't have jumped over as well. So I don't know that what we're left with. I think the two most realistic choices are either GSP and Woodley are going to figure this out. Maybe they'll coach tough. I don't know. Or Colby and Woodley. I know Colby stretches the truth, but I think he was telling the truth when he said, I've been offered the coaching stint. Now it's just a matter of whether the other guy will sign. Or maybe it is Dos Anjos and he just wanted to make him sweat. Or maybe the Diaz brother has changed his mind, and even though they couldn't do it at 219, they'll do it at a future show. And I guess Connor's even that last wild card, but I don't see him and Woodley only because if Connor comes back, he has to defend. Otherwise, they would say, Ferguson, you're our new coach. I know I'm all over the place, but that's what makes that division so exciting. There's just so many possibilities.
When you said it could have gotten better had he got the finish, you mean in the 5th round, right?
Yeah, in the 5th or the 4th,
If he would have got a finish early on, that's when people go, he just caught him, right? But a beatdown of Robbie Lawler for 5 rounds is something that
probably the 3rd would have been good. I think the 3rd you're forgiven and you just catch him because you had to withstand
maybe
50 minutes of Lawler.
Right.
That's the over.
The 4th and 5th, it's a finish is nice no matter what. But again, there's always that one naysayer. But Lawler was injured. But yeah, just a finish probably could have been a little bit better. But because it was so dominant, that's what made GSP. It took him a while, but it made him so popular because it was always 50-45s.
Yeah.
Or 50-44. It was like, okay, he's not finishing people, but Jesus Christ, the last 10 number 1 contenders none of them even could win a round off the guy.
I see what you're saying. I do side on the. I do, however, side on the, at least in this case with Goes, where it's more impressive as a domination, because the guy in question that we're talking about, Woodley, just kind of caught him with the big right hand in the first round. And we didn't learn anything about Woodley. Like, that's his thing. And even if that's not his thing, any fighter that catches a fighter early within a minute in the one big right hand, what do we learn about really either guy? But I'm glad you brought up speaking of Woodley, I'm glad you brought up that post fight, because I want to get your guys, maybe the callers' opinions on it. I think, George, that there is nothing in the works, and the reason is because this kind of brings up an issue of the analyst desk. I love seeing fighters get the opportunity. They are number one in my book who should get the opportunity, and because of these opportunities, it should boost their brand and make them do well. I have no opposition with that, guys, but I do feel that there is a line there that they are, at the end of the day, have to do their job as an analyst. And I felt that Woodley may have been crossing that line, because even before they brought on Rafael Dos Anjos, you could even see Kenny and Karen politely poking fun at Woodley, like, really, you're not going to give him any credit? Essentially saying that, and he was shutting it down, going, nope. And that's the thing about Woodley. I feel like I would try to defend him, and I feel like 9 times out of 10, Woodley is right. Factually, he is right 9 times out of 10, but I think people have trouble getting on board is because maybe I think if he just showed a little bit of empathy for the other side in the argument, it's a classic debate trick. You show a little bit of empathy to the other side so they don't steal your thunder, and then you come over the top with your facts. If he just had a little bit of that, I think he could get so much more people on his side, but right now, I think he feels like he's getting cornholed or pigeonholed into the same he's getting maybe cornhole too, but pigeonholed into the same to the same spot as Robert Whittaker, where you just have, is it this big money fight or is it this big money fight? You go from that to nothing. You get a tough matchup to, Rhea. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I feel like the GSP thing is going, the Nate Diaz thing is going, and I almost felt like you could see Woodley's frustration on that post fight. Maybe this is why he wasn't, at least in my opinion, giving Dos Anjos his due credit. But you can almost see his frustration. Maybe it's something else. Maybe it's something else. Like George was saying, was because I feel like he feels like the walls are closing in, that he sold out so hard to get these money fights and to campaign for these money fights for the last year. And now I think with GSP leaving and everything kind of leveling out, unless of a wild Connor comeback, he might just have to take the next guy in line. I don't think he's too happy about either of those.
I think he's just really jaded. I think any comments that get thrown his way are usually more negative than they are positive, of just how tough it is to keep that belt. And I think anytime anybody else is up for praise, he's thinking, I should be getting that.
And that's the thing, I want to get behind him, because if you look at the title defenses, and he had such an active 2016, like, he is factually right, and I want to get behind these arguments. But last night was, I should say Saturday night on the desk was kind of an interesting view of that, though, of what's going on right now.
Let's talk to Aaron from Texas. He's been on hold here. If you want to follow Aaron from Texas and Dan from Oregon, it's 866-522-2846. What's up, Aaron? How you doing?
Hey guys, how you guys doing?
Good, man.
Hang in there, man. Hang in there. Last week before holidays, so just trying to push through the work week. I know you guys feel the same way. Stun gun Monday. I do have a stun gun. This is Dan Tom. I when we played a few minutes ago. Yeah, you got something you got to put out there. Put it out on Junkie Radio. So I'm gonna put it out there.
Okay.
To the woman, to the fans, to the parents that said I should be ashamed of myself because little Timmy did not win his championship on Saturday, you, sir, ma'am, deserve a stun gun.
Say it again?
I was refereeing a high school wrestling tournament. I was actually the head official of it, which is basically means I deal with all the crap that everybody has to put up with the tournament. I was refereeing a championship bout, and this kid thought he got to take, it was overtime, so the first points wins the match in overtime. Both the coach and the kid thought he got the takedown, in bounds. The problem is you have to score in bounds. You can't score out of bounds. And he was out of bounds when it happened, and then, of course, like 5 seconds later, he gets taken down, the match is over, he loses. Parent comes down the stands, yells at me, you should be ashamed of yourself. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, I feel such shame because your little Timmy can't wrestle well.
Did you keep your composure, or did you get right back in her face?
No, I no-sold it. I didn't even look at it. I was like, yep, I should be, yep. I told the referee, he's been refereeing for like 55 years, I'm like, I feel shame. I'm a sad panda.
Sad panda.
To quote Muna. Anyway, guys, remember the last time I called in until Christmas, depending on what works for the rest of the week. So I kind of want to echo what Dan said, guys. If you got something you guys want to let out, man, Stun Gun Monday, listen to these two fools and Dan Tom just kind of shoot the breeze, and talk about their stun gun stories. And, of course, Danny. Can't forget Danny, of course.
Yeah.
But, yeah, this is a great place to do that. And one shout-out, guys, because Danny and I were talking about this off-air when he was, screening my call, air quote, screening my call. shout out to Chick-fil-A, guys. I don't know if you guys heard what Chick-fil-A did yesterday. They're like 1,000 people stranded at the airports in Atlanta because of a power outage. And they fed every single person who was staying there overnight at like the convention center in Atlanta. They fed everybody.
Damn.
Pretty awesome.
Pretty cool.
That is pretty cool of Chick-fil-A to do that.
If you want to support them, great. If you don't want to, that's fine either. That's what I said in my support today. So I'm gonna go enjoy my Chick-fil-A sandwich. You guys have a great day and Merry Christmas.
All right, you too, buddy.
Do you guys think that when Aaron goes to support Chick-fil-A, they'll say, "Hey, who are you?" or "You again?"
You again.
You again?
Yeah. All right. Dan from Morgan's next. What's up, Dan?
What up, gentlemen? Man, I got a topic today, and it's paper champs. We got DC out here. He's probably the least paper champ that he's ever been because Jones popped again, yet he's not even the champion right now. I think 170 has always had that dark shadow cast upon it once GSP left. Yeah, Hendricks beat him, and then, Lawler beat him, even though I thought Lawler beat him the first time, and then they gave it to him the second time. That whole mix-up there, and now we got Woodley out here having draws, probably the most boring 170 fights we've ever seen. Then there's just a whole cloud over the welterweight division. And we got Robert Whitaker out here about who's now the real champ, and he's probably the least paper champ of them all because if he beats Luke Rockhold, he's taking out the 1, 2, and 3 top contenders, and you really don't even know who's next for him after that. And I think this 170 thing needs to be hashed out, man. We're not getting good ratings here on Fox. What's next for these fighters? We got an undefeated 16-0 Darren Till, Colby Covington's 13-1, Ponzinibbio's out there at 6-0 win streak, GSP sitting there. Habib's 24-0. What happens if he gets the win this weekend? Does he got to wait for Tony and Connor to happen? Is Tiefer even going to get the fight after elbow surgery? Because you go to UFC 22 right now on Wikipedia, and they got Diaz versus Connor as the matchup. And then on top of all of that, Alvarez versus Poirier. Well, what happens to them, man? I think it's fine. It's time for this 165, 175 pound division. I want to see a tournament at 175. Ponzinibbio versus Till. Those two already got beef. That's a striking match's dream. I want to see Ben Askren finally in the welterweight division if we're going to make this welterweight division great again versus Colby Covington. That is a grappler's dream right there. In the meantime, do GSP versus Woodley. Let's finally get whoever the best welterweight in the world is. We think we know who it is, but who is it, man? What are you guys thinking of this? And just make Khabib the 165-pound belt. They weigh in at 156. That's the division right there anyway.
I will say, I'll repeat my answer before. I think the way to make everybody happy is do the weight class thing that credit to Gigi's been saying before. We got reintroduced to the conversation this year, 55, 65, 75, which means, of course, 70 is the odd man out. That's going to have to be the belt that goes away, and that could be potential problems if we're talking about Woodley, who feels like he hasn't gotten the money fights he deserves. So you give him the money fight he deserves. You give him GSP. GSP wants a money fight and to kind of recreate his narrative and come back and take the throne that he once held. So both those guys are happy. Now, what better way to send off a legendary division? Everybody that doesn't want to part with the division for nostalgic factor, I get that. But what better way to send it off than the current reigning, the new era of Tyron Woodley versus the greatest welterweight of all time? Who could complain about that?
Interesting.
That's the last match to send it off to 75.
You do solve some problems.
Boom.
There.
Everybody wins in my opinion.
Because if GSP wins it, you can go, that's the greatest 170 ever, and he can either decide whether he's going to 75 or 65, but we're retiring the division. That really is interesting, making them the coaches. So Woodley, another thing he said was the reconstructive surgery he's not going to have, but he is going to get a few things cleaned up. It's scheduled for the 19th, so that's tomorrow, down in Florida somewhere. But then he said that morning he had been hitting some mitts with Duke Rufus, who was in town to corner McDessie and maybe someone else, and he said he felt good, and so now he's thinking maybe he just doesn't need to get the surgery after all. So that's another thing that frustrates people with Woodley is the surgery. They're not no surgery, no surgery. Right. You know, but you know, at least he's kind of laying it all out. You just have to kind of follow him and follow his timeline to see what he's saying. If you just put in Woodley and something pops up from TMZ and something from Fox and something from MMA Junkie Radio, it does seem like he's jumping around saying things, you know.
Yeah.
But anyway, so you said a lot, Dan, honestly, and a lot of that is like fucking Make-A-Wish. But I'm not disagreeing with any of it. A lot of it sounded great. But one thing I'm just going to zero in on is that I've always enjoyed in the past, and we don't see it as much. Whatever they decide to do, pick a division, welterweight or lightweight. Which one do you want to talk about, Dan?
Man, all of them.
Welterweight.
This is what I see.
So we went from either one or two, with two being the worst. Dan could actually said, hey, let's just talk about both because I'm just a dick and I can't pick one. To all of them. He wants to talk about women's 145 and fucking atom weight and Victor. No, listen, I'm joking. All right, I'm just going to concentrate on welterweight. What if they go the route of T. Wood versus whoever? Just give us 8 great matchups. Remember when they did all the heavyweights?
Oh,
dude, I think that's what will create a buzz. Is the prelims have a few other weight classes, but at the top of the bill, a lot of stuff's gonna happen. Do you remember when Lyoto fought Bader and Shogun fought? Someone help me.
Fought Bader and then
they did this. It was like a mini tournament. That they called it. It was in L.A.
It wasn't Tuhuna. Never mind. That was
Shogun versus
Shogun Hua or Shogun and Lyoto was in L.A.
No. Lyoto knocked out Bader, and Shogun beat somebody. It was in L.A., and it was like this little mini four-man thing where Dana White said whoever's the most impressive gets a title shot.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Wasn't Brandon Vera?
Yeah, because it was a UFC on Fox.
It may have been Brandon Vera. I think it was Shogun versus Brandon Vera. And that night was fun because I remember both guys, I think Lyoto had starched Bader, and Shogun knew he had to go out there and do something great. So something like that, something that kind of like focuses everything on one division, and the timeline works for everybody. Things shake out, and you know what? I kind of like this individualized deal where, okay, coming in now is Tyron Woodley to face the media post-fight. Okay, he's out. Here comes Till. Okay, he's out. Ponzinibbio. You know what? On a night like that, put them all on the dais and let them call each other out.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Man, yeah.
I think we need to get to a little bit more of that, focusing in on a certain division, get them on the same timeline, and it also what else does it help out with? Oh, the GSP stepped on a nail. He's got an infection. Who do we slip in? Oh, we bring someone from the co-main event. We slip them in. You know what I mean? So it solves that problem as well. I think that can give some energy to a division. And yeah, sure, for a few months, that division isn't going to get any love. But for that one fucking week and that day, it was spotlighted.
Yeah. It's like the time UFC did a all-heavyweight main card, but they didn't really, that wasn't the selling point. It almost felt like coincidence. They didn't really acknowledge it until the card was coming, and the media guys were like, oh, hey, look, it's all heavyweights. But maybe they did that, what you're saying, George, but market it, because that could sell if you could line up the guys, of course, but that could,
because let's say your co-main event is supposed to produce the number one contender, and they all of a sudden have a dud.
Yeah.
But what about if the fight before that was a fucking barn burner? I mean, Dana White could actually look them in the eye and go, you know what? I'm giving this guy the shot.
Everyone's going to have a name in the post-fight.
You know what I mean? You two stunk. I'm giving this guy a shot. And I bet you median fans will go, fuck it, do it. You know, run it. Because it's all fresh in our minds. What do you think? I'm crazy, or what do you think?
No, I think it'd be interesting. I was kind of venturing off into something else, and I was thinking more like kind of like one of those shows like The Voice or whatever, where Dana's actually there. And almost like the Contender Series, right? Where he gives you the answer right there on the spot.
Yeah. Dan, so as far as atomweight and Invicta and super heavyweight at King of the Cage, I think the way we can make them better. No, I'm just kidding. So what do you think, Dan? What do you think of what I said?
Man, I love your idea that is acknowledge these tournaments when they're going to happen.
Yeah.
Okay, because what's the main complaint at 170?
Damn it.
No one knows who Darren Till is. He won on Fight Pass. No one knows who Ponzinibbio is. He's been on Fox Sports 1 forever. Same with Colby Covington. And no one knows. I'm going to throw him in this conversation. Ben Askren. There's no way we're just going to give him a GSP fight. Can he go through Colby Covington?
You know what's funny about that?
Can he get through?
Here's what's funny about that. Thank you for the call. I should have cut him off when he said, I love your idea. And then he kept talking. But this is why I have this love-hate with Woodley, and it's mostly love, honestly. I like that guy, I really do. How cool was it, by the way, that one junkie gathering that Rose Namajunas and Tyron Woodley were there with the junkies, now two actual champions, you know what I mean? Hanging out with us, watching
he got in trouble for that,
the Beatles show.
Late.
So with Woodley, it's just that occasional thing he says where I just disagree. It's not really a hate, and I don't really love the guy. I mean, I just like him, right? But he actually said, and I don't know if this is true or not, but he said it, so I'm just gonna believe him as a man that stays to his word. He said if Askren were to come over and want to fight, he said he would actually let go of the 170 belt and move up to 85 and let Askren fight GSP for 170. I thought, wow, because he wants to be known as a great welterweight, so he's, but that's how cool him and Ben Askren are that he would be willing to do that. Again, it could just be jibber jabber, I don't know, but it sounded genuine when he said it. Maybe he's kind of just getting tired of the weight cut anyway, so you sail off and look like a hero. But that's how much he would have wanted to see. And you know what? Ben Askren may have retired, but it's still fresh. If the UFC can make one more run at him and just have a great fight and immediately throw him into a title shot or do something, I support it. I really do. He won't fight Woodley, but they're really, really homies. And Masvidal won't fight Kobe. I had to argue with a Muppet on Twitter over that one.
Yep.
But they, I think people will get behind it. All right, we got to take a break. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM, Rush 93. Stay close, we'll be right back. Alrighty, back-to-back commercials is what you're getting, but that's because we pushed it all the way with some fight talk and, of course, some Robert Follis talk. We are dedicating today's show to Robert Follis, who passed away this past weekend, and we're also going to be talking to Daniel Cormier in the second hour. Also taking your calls, 866-522-2846. So Junkie Radio put it together one way or another. We figure it out, and we give you everything you want. It's Monday, December 18th, and we'll be right back after this break.
Oh man,
This is a
hasn't happened in
present
a
for
while.
George.
Who's gonna sing this? It's either Dan or Danny.
Snoop Dogg part. Not me, Dan Tom.
I can't do it as
Not it.
good as the pre-recorded.
Danny Okers. I order you to do it.
Oh no.
I just sent the lyrics via email. Open them, fucker. You're doing it for me. That's your Christmas gift to me. Hurry up, get in there. You're a singer for crying out loud.
I don't have the email.
I sent it.
I'm looking at my email right now. I will take a picture of my email right now.
All you gotta do is put it in the Facebook chat and just shut
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do right now. There you go, Danny. Get Facebook. Tone, tan, fit, and ready. That's where you start. Here it comes, Danny. Bring it, Danny.
Tone, tan, fit, and ready.
That's right.
Turn it up because I'm getting heavy. Wild, wild West Coast.
Put something in it.
Girls I love the most.
I mean the ones, I mean like she's the
Come on.
Kiss her, touch her, squeeze her bun. The girls are free. Cheap. Lives on the beach.
You're okay. You don't play. Come on. You love the Bay. And just away. Go, go, go.
I lost my... Hold on.
It's like the football game.
Oh no, I lost where I was.
Martinis, no weenies.
Look here, baby.
Not a gangster. He just at the end, he just goes, "Look here, baby."
Well, that's where I got to. I lost my place.
You should have stood up and just grabbed your nuts and your cock and you said, "Look here, baby," like that, like with some swag. You know what I mean?
Can you imagine
Look here,
what
baby.
The other guys in the room would have thought if he did that. If he stood up, grabbed his cock, and just started saying this thing. What the hell's going on?
Danny,
over
get your
there?
piece out of your hands.
One day we'll make them do it again, but we'll save it for in studio.
Still better than how many other people did it?
Way better than
Who
other
was-
people.
Somebody had a really bad one.
Oh, I think it was
Kevin
Oh,
Lee.
no, from Extreme Couture, the Hispanic kid, Gabriel Lopez.
Oh,
What's
no,
his name?
Gustavo Lopez.
Gustavo Lopez.
Oh yeah, Gustavo.
Oh my God! And then, you know what? I think he preceded it by going, "Oh yeah, I can do this shit." Like looking at me like almost offended, and I go, "Okay, here are the lyrics to it." And I swear to God, I almost got my Facebook out, and I was gonna Facebook Live it and go, "This is how it's done," and send it to the last guy, whoever the last guy was. This is how it's done. Is that Frank Taddy still here?
Yeah, it is.
Oh wow! And instead, he just kind of looks at it like he had never read before. Like, what is this? What is this act we're committing right now?
Yeah.
And as bad as Danny just did, he was way better than.
He started off
Gustavo.
good.
Yeah.
Started off good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, does it bug
kept
you
losing my place.
when people give examples that aren't to size? So, like, if somebody goes, "So there I was. I had my iPhone out. I was ready to tape." But
Yes,
really,
it does.
iPhones
It does.
aren't that big.
It does.
Or like, I was with my baseball bat, but
Right. I'll give you an example. People think I'm an ass for this, my buddies, because I'm always pointing that out. One time, Woody was driving, and let's just say it was Gabe and me and Squid in the back, and he had cracked a joke, and so you know how we do the old put the gun? Like, well, he ain't laughing because there's a gun to his head, So as he's driving, because he was driving, he just went like this. That was his gun, like that, and the finger bent, right? I think he was actually maybe even bagging on me, and so everybody was kind of laughing at me at the time. And I go, what kind of a gun is that? All fucked up and shit and bent, and all of a sudden Gabe and Squid turned on him, and then he turned red, you know, just because the gun was he just went like that. He had to do it though because he was driving. So I know out there nobody understands what I'm saying, but at least Goes does.
Yeah, no,
I gotta take this call, guys.
No worries.
Let's keep talking about Emmett and Lamas.
All right. Hey, get me I want a pan crust with pepperoni and sausage.
The Dan and Dan hour. Yeah.
Impromptu ham singles. That's a funny one.
Well, because I don't know if you noticed, George said, "Yeah, one day I'm gonna pull out my iPhone," but his iPhone was fucking big. It was like this big. Jesus. I just wonder if people care about that. I don't know.
I had one. I only had one, but it's probably inappropriate to share because it just is a weird gesture.
Oh God.
Well, okay. Well, I can't give a hang off like that. Well, essentially, I was dating a Latin girl at the time, and then I was at a friend's house, and he was like Hispanic, and his mom was like a pretty wild, outgoing lady. Yeah, this is actually appropriate. And she found out that I was dating a Latin girl. She's like, "Oh, Dan Tom, you like the Latin girls?" I'm like, "Yeah, I do." She's like, "Yeah, the passion." I'm like, "Yeah, the passion." And she goes, "Yeah, the passion." She does this weird like gesture with her fist. And I go, whoa, what does the fist have to do with anything? Like, and then she calling her out jokingly, and she got like really red because she didn't know what she was insinuating.
What did you think she was doing?
I don't want to know. And she went to explain, and she's like, "I don't listen to me," and it was just a really kind of a creepy tone.
Maybe she just meant like, "Hey, Papi, we the champions."
I don't
something
know.
Like that.
Like, is there
she
something?
Put her fist up in the air, and old Dan Tom was thinking, "Hey, what's the hell's going on?"
I didn't get to that playbook.
"Hey, Dan Tom, you like the Latin girls?" You replied with,
"Yeah, always. That's the Dan Tom look. Come on, the Jack Nicholson head nod is like my spirit animal."
Wow.
But I had to get off of the train when she started making fist notions because I was like, wait, what am I agreeing to now? You know, I was like, there's something I don't know.
Hey, what were you getting at? Was my iPhone not good? What started off?
I thought it was a little big.
I had like an iPad.
But it wasn't crazy big.
I had an iPad?
Yeah, like that was probably an iPad. But I was wondering if other people think that. I never say it, but
I think it all the time.
I laugh inside when people do that, you know.
Right. I have another one that I'll tell you off air because only you will get, I think. But it was pretty funny where once again you're laughing with someone and then you turn on them because they exaggerated a little bit too much. But so I catch that a lot. You want to know what that phone call is? I didn't tell you guys. I didn't tell you. When I went in for my appointment on Friday, the doctor wanted to reopen my knee up. He suggested it. He said, "Yeah." He goes, "Your knee is bending, according to the physical therapist, at 105 degrees." If anybody's watching the Facebook, that's 90 degrees, obviously, you know. Right? Even the dumbest geometry person knows that.
I didn't know that.
Well, that's 90 degrees right there. Because if you think about it, that's a box would be if there's a line here and a line here. So a perfect line, a parallel line with a perpendicular line creates 90 degrees. So my knee can do 105, which is probably about, I imagine, there. Right? So now, you know when you pull your leg muscle and stretch it, it's basically going here. I think the furthest you can go, because meat touches meat, you know, is probably, what's that? 180 would be if I could completely just lay this arm on this bicep. So that's probably, I guess, the furthest someone can go is maybe 160, 150. Right. I don't know. I can get to about 105. Now, that's with someone pushing it, the sharpshooter. She can push it to about 105. Me on my own, I can still only get to about here, you know, and slowly I can get there. And the reason is because these muscles that haven't been used are fighting, and therefore that, along with scar tissue, this is my knee, I'm showing my elbow, is preventing it from bending like that. He thinks I should be at 125. I'm at 105. And by reopening me, it wouldn't be taking me back to day one. I would still wake up and basically be kind of here. Okay. It's just that I think this one would be arthroscopic versus actually re-tearing the knee.
Just cleaning up around it.
Cleaning it up, and then what he would be doing is called a manipulation. And I don't know if I shared it on the show, but one day Max the JRT had fallen asleep by my feet, and I accidentally kicked him, and he growled. And when he growled, it scared me, and so I pulled back my leg, and when I did it, I heard pop, pop, and that's scar tissue. So what he would put me under anesthesia, and he would bend the knee to get those pops. But I wouldn't feel them because I'd be under anesthesia. So it wouldn't be the 2.5-hour surgery that I had. It'd just be a 30-minute, but I'd still be under. I think he said it was arthroscopic, so I think that's just basically drilling a hole and looking around. And then he would pop me, and then I'd snap out of it, and then pretty soon I'd be back to where I am. I wouldn't be all the way back to where, I couldn't even walk or whatever. And he wanted to do it tomorrow.
Oof.
And I gotta admit, man, on Friday I was a little shaken up, to tell you the truth, and I was like, God damn, not again. Like, for one, the money, man. I mean, I don't want to sit here and complain my financials, but I'm just recovering from this, So that is one. It wouldn't be as much as the other one. Two, just fuck. Who the fuck wants to go under again?
No.
I mean, I know I believe in modern medicine. I'm pretty sure I'd wake up, but I just don't want to do it again. I'm glad they did it the way they did. When the guy goes, "How'd you do it?" and I go, "Oh, there was this doc." And I woke up the next day, or not the next day, but a few hours later, and they're like, sir, you're dribbling all over yourself, and here's some Coke, and
thanks, Dr. Cosby.
Whatever. And I'm like, what? Where's the doctor? And I had been under for 3 hours,
Yeah. Do you remember that when you came out of it?
Yeah, I was in a fog. I remember them it looked like the place was on fire, and they couldn't wait to get me out. Come on, you gotta go. Put your shorts back on, put this, and I was like, whoa. Like a drug lab, and the cops had raided it. We got to get everything out of here.
What was the doctor like?
And I think because the doctor was only supposed to perform for about 45 minutes to an hour, and it was so complicated, he was there for about 2.5.
I guess. Yeah, about 2.
Yeah, and so he
he
had to fix a few other things, and the way I tore it was a little bit different. So anyway, going back to it, he wanted to do it, and I told him I'd think about it this weekend. That was them. They wanted an answer. And I had pretty much made my decision on Friday. I was going to talk to Goes and Juliet, but I think I had already decided it, that I didn't even bring it up to you. Plus, Goes has this... Goes and I... How can I put it to you? I don't move a lot. I'm like... You ever see The World's Fattest Man? How he's just in a bed and he doesn't move? Well, because of my knee, I just lay there, right? I have 4 remotes, a JRT, a bunch of waters, and I'm just watching it, right? And Goes is like a ghost at the Haunted Mansion, where you just kind of say, woo! He kind of goes to the room, he kind of comes in, and, how you doing? Good. Goes up the stairs, comes down, feed Max, woo! He goes back upstairs, woo! Going out. And so I always forget, like, who do we have tomorrow? DC and the rankings, and you watching the fights, and bye! And I always forget, and so I forgot this time to go, hey, what do you think? But I guess it's because I had already decided.
I have a question, though.
Yeah.
But is it that will help speed along the process, or is
it'll
you
get me
have
to where he thinks I should be at?
Okay, so if you were to do it the way it is now, it's just going to take longer, but eventually it'll get to where you need to get, right?
I think, and that's where I could have either used a U or a Juliet, because I was sitting there like mouth open, like the Scream Mask,
right?
And my heart was beating. My hands were getting clammy, and I was like, oh God! All I was thinking about was how much the pain was the next day, going out, ruining Christmas, because he wanted to do it Tuesday. My mom would be pissed if I didn't tell her, but if I told her, she'd come out, even though it was a minor procedure, and it just, I don't know, it didn't feel right. And I thought, well, what if we wait 3 weeks? He goes, you're 3 weeks behind. And I'm like, I'll fucking do that. I'm not, Man U wasn't asking me to play in, in the spring because we need to win any trophies, or the Lakers, and nobody needs me. So I will take things slowly or whatever, but. So this weekend I started walking a little bit further and further. My hips kind of hurt, and bending the knee and doing more stretches. And Juliet was doing some of the scar tissue massaging. And I got another session tomorrow with Bret Hart. Yeah, I know she's going to do the sharpshooter, and I should tape it for. I should Facebook Live it for you guys.
A sharpshooter.
It's brutal, man. But So that's why I had to run out right quick in the middle of an important show. One of only 2 shows this week, so we got to start hustling. We got DC coming up. Did you guys talk about Emmett and Lamas?
No, we didn't.
No.
Absolutely not.
I think we talked about it before the show, right?
We did. Yeah, I talked about it before the show.
We did talk, but yeah, I think it was before the show.
Okay.
This was, by the way, just quick note. This was the one I missed. We got to compare how we did on Friday's bet on who did best on the main cards. But this was the one that I missed on the main card. Ricardo Lamas, Josh Emmett. I was tempted.
When did I write those down?
But we did it on Friday, so maybe on Friday's notes. And I'm sure we can look up our picks. We remember our picks anyways on our system. We're all honest here. But, yeah, this is the one that I think a lot of people flopped on. I almost put this for my recommended parlay piece. I'm glad I didn't because something told me to stay away from it. Although, unfortunately, I did not heed my own advice, guys. I know George was talking about parlays. I don't know if you had Lamas, but Lamas was in mine, and he was the last guy to pay out in this layered parlay. That would have been nice. Would have carried me above my breaking even, like I normally this time did. But you got to give credit to Josh Emmett, man. I mean, something about the Team Alpha Male team. They have his number. I don't know.
Well, you're right. Castillo had beaten him,
and Mendez, right?
Mendez had beaten him. So in this fight, what impressed me was that Emmett did not look in any way like intimidated. You know, and Lamas is a guy who's only lost to the best. I'm talking about the best at 45. But the whole time I kept thinking, bigger guy, big muscles, strong power. How long can it weigh out? And we're going to touch on this a little bit with Ponzinibbio and Perry. I thought it was going to be something similar to that. And Lamas is very, very – his boxing solid. You know, it's not bad. He doesn't have really terrible habits. He could take it anywhere, man, on the ground, on the feet, on the feet. So I really thought at some point, especially when he had already tasted a little bit of Emmett's powers, that he was just going to – clean things up, tighten things up, and then eventually wait for a spot and then mix in the two, blend the wrestling with the striking, and either get to a decision or find a way, you know. But Emmett's pressure was something else, you know, and so he came out of that, and, you know, DC did it. I mean, we're going to have to give DC his props. He was going using that telestrator, and he was showing Emmett, you know, and the way he overcommitted, what was it, a right hand that missed? And then he torqued his body and just twisted it. And I think that's what Emmett was talking about. Joey Rodriguez works on those chuck hooks, you know. And so he comes back and, I mean, just clips him. And Lamas is a junkie favorite. You know, he's been to the gatherings. He's spent some time with us. I like the guy. So, again, I was like, oh, just bummed out for the guy. You know, like, fuck. It's the same thing with, like, Ortega. The parlay was the second thing I was worrying about. But I was just bummed for Lamas because I thought maybe he might have a say after Edgar and Holloway in front of Ortega, the Ortega height. But now all of a sudden Emmett's a player. And so then the second thing I thought about was my parlay's done. And then the third thing I thought about was the fucking rankings are going to be a nightmare. So I got to eat my Wheaties because I got to work on that today. But how do you guys react to Emmett and Lamas?
We were talking about it before the show, and I think we both noticed the same thing. And that's like, as soon as the fight started, Ricardo just didn't look like Ricardo. He didn't seem like he knew exactly what he wanted to do in that fight, as where Josh had this look on his face of almost like it's just a matter of time. But what I see is there. I just need for it to play out. As with Ricardo, we couldn't really tell what he wanted to do. And so as I was watching, I was thinking, oh, my God, that hand's just going to come over the top. It's going to clip him eventually. And sure enough, it did. And I feel bad for Ricardo because you're right. This will set him back, you could say years, really.
Yeah, and in that division,
could very well.
It's only getting deeper, and I'm glad you brought that up, Gus, because, yeah, I mean, you don't want to take anything away from Emmett here especially, but, you know, he did. It was one of those feelings where it's so easy to say in hindsight, but I don't say this loosely, but, yeah, Ricardo Lamas did look kind of different out there, and he's usually the guy that will take the first round. He'll stick and move on the outside. That's where he's most comfortable. So to see him uncomfortable in the place that he's usually most comfortable, I kind of suspected something was awry, but, and then back to the point Gigi made that, yeah, but, you know, all betting talk aside, I feel more for Lamas, even him being beyond a junkie guy, but you mentioned Brian Ortega. That was a similar dynamic matchup. We had Cub and Lamas, two guys who were very deserved, to be in the top 5, very deserved to get next title shots, and they even, through this most recent camp they both had the carrots of Jose Aldo and a Max Holloway dangled in front of them to kind of, you know, I don't want to say distract them, again, not trying to take away anything from Emmett here, but more sympathizing with Lamas, that it wasn't just a loss, it wasn't just a devastating KO loss, but the narrative, the stuff that's on the line. And of course I like to, you know, root for these veteran guys, especially the guys that got the winning streaks, and I like seeing those guys get their shots, but, you know, that's the fight game.
Take me back prior to Emmett missing, Emmett missed with a counter right straight because Lamas threw a kick first, right?
Yeah, he threw a kick. They both went to reset their balance with left hooks, and just like that Dan Hardy, Carlos Condit, the exchanging hooks, that's where we see a lot of these.
Yeah, because Lamas landed something on his temple, but by then he was already going out, so it wasn't much.
Yeah.
But what does Boss Rudin say? Finish the combos with the kicks. Don't lead with them. At the same time, anybody that can kick and has that talent should kick, because you have that type of speed like an Aldo or Barbosa or Larkin. Hey, you're just going to be able to sneak those in regardless. But your defense has to be really tight.
Yeah.
But he's always loved the fighters that throw the combos and then finish with the kick. What are you going to do? I mean, Ricardo has stacked a resume that he can overcome this loss. But like Go said, now he's behind Ortega. Now he's behind maybe even Aldo. If Edgar wins, there's going to be Aldo's going to have a card to play because he's beaten Edgar twice. Yeah. Holloway's going to say, well, I was just the champ, so I'm somehow in this mix. Now throw in Emmett, Ortega, and anybody else I'm missing. The return of Mendez, and that thing starts to get populated. Right. So Lamas, what he needs is an active year. He needs, and this is not the way to do it because when you come off a KO, you want to take the 6 months off. Hopefully he can finish the year strong and do something because if I'm not mistaken, he's 35. You get a little bit older. The dance card got punched, and you can only have it punched a few times. And what are you going to do? In our interviews, we found out he's built a gym for himself. And luckily, it sounds to me like he's been pretty responsible with his dough. Who knows? But that was a tough loss.
I feel like we're walking towards maybe that Swanson rematch, having those two, because they're both coming off losses, and maybe you could just start rebuilding that way.
That was their first UFC fight.
Well, they got to sign Swanson first, but you're right. Yeah. That was a great first fight. It was in Anaheim, California, when JDS fought Kane, I think, right?
Fox,
he was. Yeah, that was a good fight. All right, Ponzinibbio and Perry. Let's start off with Dan this time. Dan, how do you react to that fight?
Again, not only did I kind of feel crazy picking RDA going against Lawler because I'm a Lawler fan, but I also felt crazy picking RDA by decision. Same can be said about this. Not so much picking Ponzinibbio. He was the favorite. That wasn't crazy. But picking by decision because I was telling Ghost, apparently a lot of people, including cappers who were giving out their picks, were the main play on this card was that fight wouldn't go the distance. Now, it was kind of
Chase Sherman's gonna have to take a punch in the face, right? By Ngannou?
And it was kind of a risky thing to bet because I believe the line was in the neighborhood of -300, which that's pretty chalky. If you're gonna play, especially if you're looking to play a prop straight up. But you know what? I guess I wasn't that crazy for thinking it would go the distance because it did, and it wasn't just saying that. The reason why I thought was because both of these guys get hurt and put themselves in danger, but they have really good chins and recoverability, and they're still young. So I didn't expect that bottom to drop out. And Ponzinibbio, his question is, are we going to get the stick and move Ponzinibbio, or are we going to get this Ponzinibbio that's going to play into Mike Perry's hands and brawl with him? Well, my answer in my head was, well, regardless of which Ponzinibbio we get, let's say worst case scenario, we get the Ponzinibbio that goes in there reckless. It's only going to take one of those Mike Perry shots to wake you up and go, oh, looks like we're sticking and moving today, boys. And we saw that. We saw Ponzinibbio. We saw that. He checked Ponzinibbio, but that almost helped Ponzinibbio by checking him because, again, it made Ponzinibbio fight smarter, adjust, and put the volume and output on him, which is why I thought he was going to pull away for the decision win. So I guess I can't say I was that surprised, but I will say both guys look good. I don't think both guys' stock dropped too far from that.
No. Perry's isn't ever really going to drop much because he has it. He has it.
Yeah.
Some of it I don't get, taking whiffs at the guy, during the weigh-in or whatever. But unless he's pulling out the old house party, I smell pussy, Right. But regardless, he fought well. I think there's already a post on Junkie. He's not making excuses. He knows he has to address the cardio. But my feeling is that if I were to see a post that says Mike Perry versus fill in the blank at UFC such and such in the future, I'd be like, cool. Like, that's my reaction. There's a lot of fighters where when they post them, I'm like, oh yeah, good. That was actually Ponzinibbio. Up until when Ponzinibbio won recently overseas, right. I think every time he fought, I was like, oh cool, whatever. But he had a great speech. He had a little bit of a call out, and he had a great finish. Was it the Nelson fight?
Before this fight, yeah.
Yep. And that got my attention. Well, Perry got my attention from day one, and that's what fighters need to do one way or another. Either fight well, speak well, or do both average. a combo of it or have an amazing social media. Chase Sherman is hilarious. He's 2-3 in the UFC, but he's hilarious on social media. But you got to stay in our heads.
I thought it was a really fun fight, but I think for me, what stood out about Ponzinibbio's performance was there were times where, I mean, he was always in trouble because of the way Mike Perry was fighting, but there were times where the grappling, I think he could have just solidified a position and held him there and maybe won rounds a little bit better. But Perry was just able to get back up, and it was just, there were times where I think he could have taken his back.
Perry's just a physical phenom, it seems like.
It's kind of weird, yeah. So it was a fight where, like, even Perry, like, I'm excited to see him fight again. I'm excited to see Ponzinibbio fight again. But I don't think neither guy is saying, like, I got something for the champ. I think they still have a few things they need to do.
Whereas when Colby was finishing Maia, not finishing, but putting the finishing touches on it, I felt like that backed up all of what he said. He did it in Brazil. Of course, everything he said afterwards, you know, some of it crossed the line, some of it didn't, whatever. But it was the fact that he had just done what Tyron wasn't able to do, and that was really, really put a stamp on a win over Maia. So, you know, I don't know if that helped his cause to at least fight off Ponzinibbio. Right now, it's a Colby Covington RDA 1-2 race. With GSP, you know, at any point he may be the Rosie Perez and just cut the line like she did at Boston Marathon 30 years ago. It's like a long ass reference, but the other Rosie Perez. It was another Rosie. Did you ever hear about the lady that cheated at the Boston Marathon? I think her name was. Or something? I think she was a Rosie Perez.
Somebody took the subway and somebody took a cab once.
And she only ran like a portion of it, but she cut through and she won the damn thing. But anyway, so any final thoughts on Ponzinibbio and Perry? You said what you said.
Yeah.
I mean, okay. Ponzinibbio wins. We'll see what's next for him. And we got to go to break. We got DC coming up. We'll talk about Glover Teixeira and Misha Serkinov when we come back. I mean, that fight happened so quick, it'll be easy to sum up.
Easy.
In fact, we'll probably bring it up when we're talking to Daniel Cormier. That's right. The UFC light heavyweight champ will come up next. We're going to take a break. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on SiriusXM, Rush 93.
compassion, common sense. These guys have none of that. You listen to them, so you're no better. I am awesome, though. They are Gorgeous George and Goes.
All right, we're back, and we're coming down the home stretch of another fine edition of MMA Junkie Radio. We do this show Monday through Friday, live from the Race and Sportsbook here at the Mandalay Bay Resort and Casino. Stop on by and pay us a visit, except for this week, because we'll be on vacation from Wednesday till Friday. So it's just today and tomorrow, and that's it. We'll be back on the 26th as we preview UFC 219. Now, in our rearview mirror is UFC on Fox 26. The gentleman that's coming on next was a broadcaster that night. He wore the hat of broadcaster. He was the color commentator for the event on Big Fox, which featured Rafael dos Anjos versus Robbie Lawler. He also happens to be the UFC light heavyweight champion. It's DC, Daniel Cormier. What's up, DC? How you doing?
What's up, boys? What's going on?
Not much. How about you?
I'm good, man. Driving to the gym to go get this work in.
Hey, bro. You know what was funny? We'll talk about fighting in a second and broadcasting in a second, but your beef on Twitter with the wrestling community was hilarious.
Man, listen, I'm a big-time wrestling guy. Like, I like watching that shit, and I know a lot of people made fun of me for it, but I didn't like that sequence of the match, and I'm going to say it. And if I want to say it on my Twitter, I'm going to say it on my Twitter. And then, all those guys get all butthurt about it, and I'm like, hey, guys, not everybody's going to like everything you freaking do, so shut up. What are you going to do? And, I told Cody Rhodes, lay off the swear words, because then when you start cussing like that, you're pretending to be serious, and, you don't really want to be serious with me. And then some guy actually told me that I would probably better be careful because Cody's going to kick my ass as a two-time wrestling state champion. I was like, okay, now this has to be a joke. I was like, so yeah. I had a good time with it, though. I'm telling you, I had a good time with it. Look, I do think that those guys are awesome. I think all those guys, Cody leaving the WWE and finding a place for himself, the Young Bucks doing what they do on the indie scene, I think that's all cool. But I did not like 6 men in there. I want to suspend reality for a little bit, right? That doesn't look like they're even trying to tell me that what wrestling really is. Even though we know it's predetermined, and even though we know there's some choreography in there, and I love Seth Rollins. Some of the high spots that he does, I love Seth Rollins. He's one of my friends, but at least it looks like it still hurts a little bit. I grew up in a time where if a 500-pound man body slams you, you may need a few seconds before you can kick out. The 3 count's going to happen and you're going to lose. An earthquake or typhoon jumped on you. So I want to suspend reality if I'm watching it. And what really pissed me off mostly in an entire little minute was when he flipped, right? The guy did like a Frankenstein, and he flipped. The guy does a cartwheel, runs to the ropes. And then when he came back, the guy swept under his leg. But it's so clear that he's not even touching him. That's what bothers me.
Exactly.
Make it look like he touched him, and that's all that bothered me. But one guy goes, "I give you some tickets to the show, but it's sold out." I'm like, "Hey, mine is too. My last 10 have been. What are you talking about?" I'm not talking to some random dude on the internet.
I know, man. It was hilarious. I was dying. Now, so I like pro wrestling. I just don't keep up with it like you do. But that was not WWE, right? What you were?
No, that was Ring of Honor. That was Ring of Honor.
Where are they? Are they beginners or are they right under WWE, like AAA? What?
I don't think there's anything that's right under WWE, but it's probably one of the bigger wrestling companies on the independent scene, right? So those guys make good money and they do well. And you know what's crazy, guys, is that these people and I love that they're so passionate, right? They're so passionate about independent wrestling, but they hit me with this. The Young Bucks, their T-shirts are selling out at Hot Topic, and they kept throwing out that their stuff's in Hot Topic, and I'm like, that's not really the biggest store in the world, It's it was almost like saying they're selling out freaking Target or Walmart or something like that. I was like, guys, it's Hot Topic. It's not the biggest store in the world. I'm like, calm down. I'm not talking about anybody. I'm not hating on the guys that you love so much.
Right.
Yeah, it was crazy.
I saw that same sequence. I saw that same sequence and I thought it was silly, honestly. And I'm old school wrestling where I want to be sold on something,
Right,
you know what I mean? And what the fuck was all that when all 6 of them at the end went up in the air and all they did was like touch each other's toes? You know what it looked like? It looked like synchronized swimming except without the pool. You know?
Like an NFL celebration.
Yeah, or an NFL celebration. You know, like, well, what is all that? And then when the fact that they got touchy about it, I was like, guys, you're not understanding. We're not hating on the whole sport. We're not hating on your career. We're just hating on that sequence. Just fucking lose it. That's all.
In fact, I got a reference. Maybe DC will sign off.
Those guys are saying stuff like, watch the match. And I'm like, somebody send me the match. I'm sure I will enjoy the match. I just will still not enjoy that fucking sequence. One guy, like, some random dude's like talking. I'm like, dude, no matter how much you whine, I am not going to fall in like the BS food in that sequence. Doesn't matter.
You know, DC, we're watching the match over here as you're speaking, and I'm not a wrestling head either, but tell me if you sign off on this reference. I wasn't impressed, but I will raise my not impressed by saying, I remember going to a WCW show back in the day here in Vegas in the 90s. Might have been the one where Psycho Sid Vicious crashes the commentary booth, but there was a luchador fight with La Parca and the Juventud Guerrera and all those guys, and they did a match that'll put that to shame. They were doing multiple flips at multiple times, and just go watch the luchador fights. Can you sign off on that one, DC?
So, yes, I used to love the Cruiserweights. I used to love the Cruiserweights, Jushin, Thunder, Liger, and all those guys. And they did the same type of thing. It just looked a little more real.
Yep.
It just looked, and I've been in, like, and they also told me that I ask for comp tickets. Yes, I do. Every single time the WWE's around, I do ask for comp tickets. I'm not ashamed of it. I've been a fan of Cody Rhodes. I've been a fan of Stardust, and I am not lying about that. I just said I did not like that sequence. And they say stuff like, well, it sold out and it did this, and they were saying, it's so crazy because those 6 guys in the ring probably made more money in a month than Daniel makes in a year. And I'm like, oh my God, you guys are really that mad. Like, seriously. It's crazy. It was actually the craziest thing. And then I lost a friendship with Lazy yesterday, Lazy the Savage. I had to tell him, he was telling me he loves it. He goes, I love it. And then he said, I went to a show with in L.A., and he goes, there's a guy on the show that doesn't even hit people. He hits them with his private area. He flips them with his private area. I said, you like that? He goes, it's the funniest thing I've ever seen. He goes, 90% of the show was comedy. He goes, I'm drunk when I'm there, but I love it. I said, my friend, this is where we part ways. You are no longer friends. If you're telling me you're in there watching the guy doing pelvic thrust and his opponents are flipping, and you're entertained.
Yeah. I hear you there.
And to be honest, Daniel, it's offensive to guys like us that can actually pull that move off, and they're just sitting there faking it. It's like, come on.
Hey,
don't discredit our work.
I'm not flipped when I'm holding anybody in a torture rack. But ask old Gold if it's comfortable up there.
Yeah,
ask Gold if it's comfortable in the torture rack.
Hey, DC, you may have caught a break, DC. The next time you're back here, Go's lost 50 pounds. If you ever want to recreate the torture rack, it won't be as bad for you.
I saw someone.
I thought it would be so easy.
He was here, remember, a month ago. But I saw somebody do the torture rack version of it, but with their knees. So I wouldn't get too comfortable with you guys, because I know he could pull that one off on YouTube.
But I'm 250. He ain't picking my ass up.
I saw a girl. This girl was doing the torture rack, but then she would just fall down to her knees. How much would that suck? That's the type of stuff I'm talking about. You put them on your back, and then just fall down on your knees and make like the whole back just snap. Like that I won't believe that it hurts. There are a lot of things in wrestling nowadays that I wish could change a little bit. Like I wish the finishing move still worked. Like right when you built to that moment where Shawn Michaels kicked you in the face for the super kick. Dudes weren't getting up. And guess what? I got kicked in the face. And I know when you get kicked in the face, you're not getting up. So it made sense to me as a kid. It makes even more sense to me now as an adult. And that type of stuff, I love.
What would be your finishing move if you were a pro wrestler? Using your wrestling, all that you've acquired. Would it be that torture rack that you did on Go's, or you have another move?
Probably, man, I saw one guy actually made a finishing hole of those moves that I did to Gustafson, Barnett, and all those guys. He turned that into a wrestling finisher, and I swear I wish I knew the guy's name because I would give him a little bit of some plug. But he takes the leg, flips them into that high crotch, right? That sequence. When they start to roll, it's like he grabs their head and he front slams them. That is nasty. That's probably my finish move. I'd help him teach me that. It's nasty.
DC, the broadcaster. I mean, you've obviously settled in. You're comfortable. We've told you before. We think you're doing a great job. How much are you enjoying now that facet? Can you not wait till the next one, or are you okay with the pace that you're going at? Like, you know, taking a few off and letting others jump in there.
I don't mind. You know, I think it's fun. I think it's fun. Like, this is my first year doing them. You know, doing like whole shows, and I've already done like 9 this year. So it's not like I'm going at a slow speed of doing commentary. So I love it. I think it's great. It's a lot of TV, you know, and a lot of chances to mess up, you know. And I talked to my producer the other day, and I asked, every time I get done, I go, how was the TV? How was the show? And he goes, brain farty moments, but overall, good television. You know, and I'm like, well, perfect. And then he points out my mistakes, and once he points out the mistakes, I go back to trying to make them better. So, yeah, it's good, but, you know, it's 7 hours of talking about fights and legitimately talking about the fights as I see them, even though you may be watching the fight and thinking that you're watching it completely different. I'm telling it to millions of people that I see this fight this way, and maybe you see it different.
Is a brain fart, like, I think I caught maybe one. Honestly, I think you do a great job, but I think you may have said Mark Perry instead of Mike Perry. Is that a brain fart, or is there bigger stuff that he's catching?
Well, no, like, maybe I said Mark or something. Like, one time I was trying to say something about Robbie Lawler reintroduced himself to the division, but I couldn't find the word. I said like 3 or 4 times, and I was like, and then John Anik finally just saved me, and he gave it to me, and I was like, yes, that's exactly what I was looking for. But that happens in conversation, right? So if you're with someone and you're trying to find a word and you can't recall it, your friend may help you with the word, and that's exactly what happened in that situation. But again, I'm on national television, so it's like those types of things do happen. This is live TV, so yeah, I might have said Mark Perry. I don't even remember saying Mark Perry, to be honest with you. Mark Perry was my college wrestling assistant coach. So I don't know why I would think Mark was in the cage fighting against freaking Santiago Ponzinibbio. Maybe I said Mark Perry. I don't know.
Is that the guy that went to Missouri?
No, Mark Perry that's the son. The son's an NCAA champion from the University of Iowa. Ended up beating Johnny Hendricks.
Okay. All right, so let me ask you this. Are you shooting to be on the level of a John Anik, or would you be content to be like a Charles Barkley or a John Madden? And by the way, great work with the illustrator. I would prefer, I'm going to let you answer it, but I would prefer, I like the DC that's out there laughing, having a good time. Even if you're not a wordsmith and you struggle for a word, fuck it. You're having a good time. And at the end of the day, a world champion's telling us what the fuck is happening in front of our very own eyes. I'll take that. I'll take the entertainment. So do you like the Madden and Barkley comparison if you had to go down that road?
I love it. I love it. And I think that's one of the guys at Fox, right? When I started at Fox 5 years ago, the guy that's in charge of the UFC department said, it's crazy, Daniel, that when I spend time with you off TV, I get the same person on TV. And there's a guy named Niner who works with us at the table, and he's very good friends with Charles Barkley. And he said it's the same thing. He said the guys that are the best, the times that it seems most natural, is whenever you feel the same, whether you're on television or you're off of television. That's me. Like, I'm watching fights as if I would watch fights at my house. You know, I just want to have a good time. Like, I want you to have a good time. I want to have a good time. So I'm breaking stuff down, but I don't want you to feel like I'm trying to be the smartest guy in the room, because I'm not. I never said I was. I just know mixed martial arts. I've been around this game. I understand what I'm watching, and I will give it to you in the best way I can possibly. That's it. I didn't go to college for broadcasting. I never had an idea that I would get into a job like this. But I've done it now. I enjoy doing it. I enjoy calling fights, and it sounds like people enjoy listening to me talking about fights. And because of that, I'll continue to do it, and I'll continue to get better. So have to remember, as you said, I love doing this, and even if you enjoy it, it's still very new to me. I was an analyst at a desk for the first 4 years of my television career, and now I'm hosting. I host UFC Tonight, and I'm actually doing color commentary. So I'm enjoying it. I love it. And I do want to be more like Barkley, where I just kind of say whatever, and it feels good. Like I said on Saturday, and people thought oh my God, people think it bothers me when they show me that video of me after the fight when I cried. That's what some of those professional wrestling people did. I said, that doesn't bother me. I've used this gift myself. I'm not involved making fun of Daniel Cormier. And I was talking about the kid that got head kicked, and I go, listen, I may not be the best guy in the world to talk about head kick defense, but you have to get the other hand across. And I went into the telestrator. But it's I'm not above making fun of myself, and I think guys can't take themselves too seriously. And I think that's why I get text messages from Dana and the other bosses in the middle of the broadcast telling me that I'm doing a good job.
Awesome. That's great to hear. Keep using that illustrator. All right, Goes, what do you have for the champ?
Daniel, we talked to Mauro Ranallo one time, and the question I asked him was, because his voice is attached to so many iconic moments, not just in MMA, but in boxing, even pro wrestling, there's going to be times where these fights, these matches, they get played again, and you're going to hear your voice attached to it. He doesn't really like that. He says it kind of takes away from the moment. He kind of changes the channel. It just feels weird to him. How do you handle those moments? And, further down the line, 20 years from now, when you hear those, is that going to be things that you're proud of, or do you think you'll kind of suffer the same thing where when you hear your own voice, it just kind of takes away a little bit?
I mean, you guys do radio every week, and I don't know if you like your voice or don't, but most people don't like hearing themselves talk. But I like certain things, right? So, now we're doing the bit where I'm doing the bit where I talk about the fights before they happen, right? So, in the Cyborg Home preview, I'm talking about Holmes' movement versus Cyborg Power, how it's going to play out. I don't mind that all that much, because that's just me being excited about those fights. UFC 217? Was it 217? That's 218? Or whatever, where 17, where Nama Yunus knocked out Ioanni Jacek, and I just started yelling Doug Rose. That's going to probably be played for a long time. That I don't mind, because you hear the excitement in me and Joe Rogan and John Anik. I guess I don't mind it in that sense. I would not want to hear myself right now, because when I'm doing interviews and stuff, I feel like my voice sounds really, really odd and I have a real nasally type of voice, and it's just kind of weird to me.
When you call a fight that's in your own division, your own weight class, do you feel like you call it any different? Is it different to call those type of fights for you?
That's something that I've had to work on, right? Because before you watch guys as opponents, you think, oh, he may be down the line, he may be down the line. But in order to do these guys justice, I have to not view them as opponents, just as fighters and unbelievable athletes. Because I'm not looking for negatives in Glover Teixeira or Misha Serkinov or Jared Cannonier or Jan Blachowicz. I'm just trying to give them and tell their story to the best of my ability. So I've gotten better at that. Before, I used to go one way or the other, right? So when I first called Jones' fight against Ovent, I felt like I was kind of almost trying to, I was almost trying to give too much credit to the guys instead of just calling the fight as it was, and I think I've gotten better at it.
DC, are you close to the gym or not yet?
I still got 10 minutes.
Can we put you on break? Or we got to take one more commercial, but we got a few more questions. Can we just put you on hold and get a quick break out of the way and finish up with you as you cruise into AK? All right, thank you, man. How about that? How about that?
And how about on the video stream if we want? We can just keep asking questions.
Oh, that's true, yeah. All right, we're going to put the champ on hold. God, I feel terrible doing that to a world champion, but we got to pay some bills. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM Rush 93. Quick break, and then we'll come back, and we'll ask him a few more, and then he'll go to AKA and punish Kane and Luke and Habib, and who knows what he'll do. We'll take it out on them. We'll be right back.
What is it tonight? Please just tell me what the hell is wrong.
That's good.
Do you want to eat? Do you want to sleep? Do you want to drown?
Stream's still open.
All right. So right now we are in commercial, but on our video feed, we can still ask the champ questions. And what we'll do is, let's ask him a little bit about pro wrestling, right? That's something that won't, maybe the MMA fans won't.
Sure,
trip over,
yeah,
so.
ask away.
So, is he still patched in through here?
He is
Yeah,
now.
can you guys
There he is.
Yeah. Hey, Daniel.
can you
so
guys still hear me?
yeah, we can hear you. So, I was thinking about something. I know you're a big pro wrestling fan, and it's funny because a lot of my greatest memories from this MMA show have to do with pro wrestling, and one of them was being able to. We had Roddy Piper in studio, and we had him here he was scheduled for 30 minutes. He stayed for 3.5 hours, and then invited us out for drinks later that night. Do you have a moment like that in your career, hanging around with pro wrestlers? And if so, can you share? And if not, can you maybe share someone that you wish you could do something like that with?
No, I've done that. You know, I've had times where which was my like, oh my God moment was I was taking a motorcycle course for Harley Davidson a couple years ago, and I would drive 2.5 hours every morning, me and my wife. And just one random day, Steve Austin, I talked to him sometimes. He called me on the drive back home, and we talked for 2.5 hours. And I was like, for anyone that knows how much I love Stone Cold back in the day, that was a big deal for me. Like, but I think one of the coolest things that ever happened to me was even before I became who I am. I was in high school, and the Junkyard Dog was doing a signing at Sonic.
Nice.
And my ex-wife used to work there. We were in kids, you know, and nobody went, man. It was only me. And so me and JYD just sat there and had, like, Coney hot dogs for hours and talked and just talked about the business and talked about wrestling and just, I got to pick his brain from talking about him being in Mid-South and being, like, the big dog there with Ernie Ladd and all these guys to going to the WWE and experiencing the bright lights of the WWE and WCW. It was just, like, one of my most fulfilling conversations.
Okay. All right, we're coming back right now, DC, from commercial.
Yeah, that would have been awesome.
Hell yeah. JYD was my favorites.
Now it's talking about Sonic.
That too.
Do what they say. Your life will be a lot better. Here are Gorgeous and Goes.
All right, we're back with the champ. He hung on with us there. We'll cruise into the finish line here. Maybe stretch it out a few minutes if we can. All right, DC, we have a listener from Canada who wants to ask you a question. His name is Oreo. And the last 3 times he's asked me to ask a fighter a question, I always forget. So this time he gets lucky. He gets to talk to a world champion. Danny, can you patch him in, please?
Dude, thanks a lot, George. I'm DC, big fan, man. I was a John Jones fan, but I really think you're the best of all time. I always, like, with your resume, I really think that you're the clear number one guy. You're undefeated at heavyweight, and I think you're undefeated at lightweight. So thank you for all you do.
Thank you so much.
I'm just wondering, what do you really think you have to prove in order for you to retire and feel confident in your career? I mean, everything you've done so far, your resume is spot on. So I'm just wondering, do you want to do like 5 more title defenses, or do you want to, fight 3 more guys, or what do you really have to do to be satisfied?
I mean, I already am. You know, I don't have to do anything else. You know, I'm just fighting now because I love the sport. I feel like my career speaks for itself, you know, independent of anything else. You know I've been closely tied to Jones and everything else, but I feel that I've done enough to where I feel good, man. I'm not chasing anything else. I'm just fighting because I love competition. So, yeah, I'm totally secure in the way my career has been and how it's going.
Very cool. All right. Now, our latest addition, Dan Tom, he has a final question, and we're coming up right against the hour, so I'm just going to say goodbye to our audience. It'll only take a few seconds here. Sirius XM audience, you can catch the rest of Daniel Cormier if you ever visit our Facebook page, facebook.com/official MMA Junkie, or YouTube. It's youtube.com/MMA Junkie video. And if you missed any part of the show where we recapped UFC on Fox 26, or any of the Cormier interview, you can always download us crystal clear HD quality on the SiriusXM app. It is also commercial free. You'll really, really like it. It also has other shows like Busted Open, which talks about pro wrestling, The Luke Thomas Show, MMA Tonight with Misha Tate, AJ Hawk, RJ Clifford. You'll really, really like it. All right, so we will be back in 15 seconds. We'll continue with the world champion Daniel Cormier. It's MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM Rush 93.
I'm gonna keep on the run, I'm gonna have me some fun. It cost me my very last dime. If I wind up broke, oh well, I'll always remember that I had a swing in time. I'm gonna give it everything I've got. Ladies,
You guys are clear for overtime.
All right, Dan, what do you have for Daniel?
All right, DC, we talked about pro wrestling. We talked about what's next, or at least, Oreo, asking you your goals before retirement. But let's talk about the most important thing, food. Okay, we talked a little bit about food in the commercial break. You mentioned some tasty things there that I could get down on. But I remember you when you first started making 205. You talked about having a diet for the first time, and one of the tricks you would use was kind of spicing up or modifying your favorite dishes into something healthy. Now let me ask you: you've worked with Tyler Minton and different people. Now with your current nutritionist or whoever you got going, do you have any say in that? Do you ever tell them like, "Hey, I really like this. Could you really make a healthy version so that I could eat of this during camp?"
No. I don't have to do that with Tyler. Tyler has done a fantastic job of figuring out the type of things that I like, and he just touches on that, right? So I don't need, like a lot of guys love that fancy stuff, and you see it. Tyler will feed them fancy stuff. Dan Leaf was the king of fancy. He was a great nutritionist himself, but Tyler, I just go, hey, take some rice, put it on the plate, and just put some chicken or some beef, and that's good for me. It does not have to look beautiful. If there's anything I need to put on Instagram, doll it up and then take that shit off so I can eat my food. That's all that matters to take. Doll
That's
up
hilarious.
the place for Instagram. I'll snap a photo and then take it off so I can get to my lunch. Yeah, that's essentially Tyler and I's conversations in regards to foods. I'm like, T, is the food ready? He's like, almost. Hold on. And I'm like, you better not be over there plating. He's like, I don't plate. He's like, I don't plate with you. I just put the food on a damn plate so you can eat it. So yeah, we've got a good relationship, man. He's crossed, Tyler and I, and I've done that with Dan and now Tyler. It changes from just athlete nutritionist to friendship, and I really do enjoy that even better.
All right, Daniel, last question, and this is really, really rapid fire. You're not, when you go in the octagon, you're not scared of long-term injury, correct?
No.
Okay, and you're not scared of losing, correct? Because, you've already lost once.
Not at all.
Okay, so then...
Never think about it.
At any point, as scary as it may be, just because you've tasted that power before, would you ever want, as your final fight, the winner of Stipe and Ngannou? And obviously, I know these guys hit hard and they're monsters, but imagine what it would do for your legacy. If you come up short, hey, you came up short, but you had the balls to try it. And if you win... Imagine just how that would cap off your career.
Oh, it would be the most amazing thing in the world. But that would take some thinking, some talking, and a real solid plan to try to get back to the type of weight that I would need to compete against those guys. Because again, George, I'm not going in there to lose and say I gave it my best shot. If I go in there with Miocic or Ngannou, I'm going to win. So that's just who I am. So. It would be me and my team really coming up with a solid plan on how I'm going to get up to a healthy, strong 235 pounds, 240 pounds to go and fight these dudes. Because even if I did a heavyweight again, I feel like at heavyweight at my best, I was only fighting around 235. So I'd have to get 235 and real healthy and strong.
Yeah. I just remember you tossing Barnett around, man. I could not believe that.
Yeah.
I really couldn't. And that's why
I still think that's one of my greatest performances to this day. I still think for all the fights that I've had, I fought very well against Dan Henderson. I fought very well against Alexander Gustafsson. I still feel as though that's one of my best performances.
Go beat up Luke and Habib and Kane. And thank you very much for the time, sir.
Luke's not there. Hashtag where's Luke? Like Habib tell me, where's Luke?
He didn't leave the team though, right?
No, he didn't leave the team, but he's just down in Florida training. We love Luke, man. He's doing what's best for him right now, and I applaud him for making that decision. So,
okay, buddy.
I'll
All right,
see you guys later.
All right, take care. Thank you.
Me.
See you, champ.
Later.
Don't get any better than that, right?
Nope.
Yeah,
he's
fun to talk to.
A really cool story. I don't know if this part gets put into the serious portion, but if you do, you'd want to go back to the video and listen to his JYD story.
Danny, can you tell us what he told us during the commercial? Is that included anywhere? Or?
It's not. I
It's on
was thinking
Facebook,
about
though, right?
cutting. Yeah, I was thinking about cutting it out. And then we can put it up as like a SoundCloud.
There you go,
profile or
Danny.
something like that.
There you go. There you go. That'd be
That
awesome.
and his last answer, because I really liked that too, where he was talking about like what you just asked him the last couple of rapid fire questions. So
Okay. Awesome.
might
All right.
put those up.
Well, thanks for staying over. Audience as well. Thanks for staying with us over. And we'll be back tomorrow. It's just 2 shows this week, and then take a few days off. So, thank you to Daniel Cormier, and thank you to Ghost for lining that up. We'll be back tomorrow. Might have another world champion in the house. Not in the actual house, but on the phone. And we'll see. Can't talk about it yet. I don't want to jinx it. Sorry there. I had something stuck in my throat. So anyway, we're out of here. We'll see you tomorrow. For Danny and Dan and Goes, I'm George. Have a nice day. Go out there. Be champions. And rest in peace, Robert Follis.